Spiders, generally in sci-fi, have gotten a terrible rep. You normally only see them bursting out of people's chests, being some unknowable foreign intelligence that's coming in and just murdering everybody on board, and just generally used in horror tropes in sci-fi just to be that really creepy thing that we have wired into our head to like crawl under our skin and just freak us the fuck out. Well, I have a book that I just finished that completely inverts this trope and does something really new and interesting. But before we get started, hello! My name is Sean, and today we're going to be getting into Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So I actually have a long list of TBRs that I've been trying to get through and push out there. Certain books that you guys have come to expect that I'm midway through the series. So generally I try not to just throw in random books in here, but I actually saw a video by Hello Future Me called The Compatibility Problem. And in that video, he sold it way better than I ever could at my current skill set with YouTube. It was such an interesting concept and premise that I picked it up and I got sucked into this book. So if you're looking for a spoiler-free video that is very well edited beyond my current scope, then I'll put a link down below and you should absolutely check it out. Really cool video. The way that he sells the book, he has interviews with the author about some of the concepts in the book, just really well done, and absolutely check it out. But if you're still here, I'm going to be giving you some spoilery thoughts on it, some of the cool themes that I noticed, and why I thought this was a really cool book, and you should absolutely check it out. So in this book, humanity has gotten way more advanced than we are currently. We are interstellar travelers. We have gone really crazy with what we know about the brain, being able to upload it or copies of our consciousness into computers. AI is very advanced. We can terraform planets, and humanity is just now trying new things and trying to understand more and more. Part of this new society and empire that we have built was that not only can we terraform planets, but we want to make it max efficiency and make us do less work in general. So scientists of Earth have come up with this crazy experiment. What if we drop a bunch of monkeys onto a terraformed planet, put a nanovirus in their head, and then speed up their evolution? So by the time colonists are ready to even settle on Earth, we have hyper-intelligent monkeys that can act as a servitor race to us and just speed along the process and make everything good. But like us conflicted and divided humans now, things don't go to plan, and in the process of trying to push out this new nanovirus and the other things that were going, war breaks out within humankind, and people hate the idea of human transcending nature and universe and doing this act which they view as a complete transgression of all things natural. And so the plan gets sabotaged, and when they're trying to send these barrel of monkeys down to Earth to start this evolution process, they burn up in the atmosphere and never actually make it. But the nanovirus makes it. And on this terraformed planet, while the nanovirus was designed to not mess with any other mammals or anything and very targeted, they never thought about what would happen if that nanovirus, I don't know, got attached to a bunch of arthropods and spiders. And this is the story of what happens when human society and civilization is collapsing in, and there's this terraformed planet full of spiders who now are getting injected with this nanovirus that was designed to speed up evolution and intelligence at a very remarkable speed. And all the safety parameters and things that were designed to keep the monkeys from getting smarter than us doesn't apply to spiders because they have a completely different biology. This was one of the coolest concepts I think I've read in sci-fi in a while. Generally, when you have harder sci-fi and you're going into these different tropes, it stays within humanity, or you have the different aliens where they're unknowable and just these beings that come up and we have to deal with it, and it's all about humanity's struggle against them. In this book, we are getting in the mind of the spiders as they're going evolution. We're watching their civilization grow and build, and it is really cool. A lot of the things that their society builds around is spider culture, how spiders treat each other. Spiders are known to eat their males after mating with them, and there's this weird hierarchy, dominance thing between the females and the males, and so when the spiders get raised up and exalted into building their own civilization, you have the prejudice against the spiders are smart, but they still have millions of years evolution that caused them to have these things. And spiders in general are this hunter species, and they're trying to grow and learn how to form societies together. So what would be the values that these spiders have? What would drive them? What would they view as okay and not okay? And we're watching them trying to grow past their evolution to become something a little bit better. And while all this is happening and society is collapsing and falling apart, the humans continuously poison themselves. And it's not like we are currently on the brink of another Cold War where we could exterminate ourselves, so none of this resonated for me. But humanity kind of survives. They're stuck on an Earth that has been frozen over by the nuclear war and the weapons, and as things start to warm back up, all the poisonous gases and things that we have used to doom ourselves start to release. So humanity has a single arc ship left, and they're trying to find a habitable planet. They go out into space and they find, this newly terraformed planet that seems perfect for life. Everything collapsed, so they don't actually know about the hyper-intelligent spiders or not, but that planet is guarded by a fully crazy human upload AI that just wants nothing to do with them and just hates humanity for what it was because she witnessed the collapse of it. And this is where everything starts to spin into motion. You have this human arc ship, the Gilgamesh, that's trying to settle and make everything good. And you have these spiders like going from evolution to evolution, and they're communicating with this rogue, crazy human AI that they think that there's God. And you're watching like them become more and more of their own intelligent species, and humanity become more and more desperate as they desperately need a place to go because they've been on the Gilgamesh for thousands of years trying to find anywhere that they can actually restart humanity on there. And it was just such a cool concept, really well done. The moral philosophy and everything that went into it, just how, we keep doing our own things versus like, what about this new life? And just that general idea of if we ever met alien life, why do we think we'd be actually able to communicate with it? Like when we watch something like a spider become hyper intelligent with their own customs and communication and how they actually thrive and do everything, how would we even want to negotiate with them? And how would we interact with them in a way that wouldn't really bring annihilation to one species or the other? I really want to dive into some of the themes and things that actually happened in the book on like a more specific granular level. And there's really three major things I want to talk about. The philosophical themes about how our morality was tied to what was good for us through evolution. The technological themes of like biological technology and how things could have been done different depending on what we would have started out with. And thirdly, the limits of our perceptions and how in the case of an alien meetup, how that would really limit us and could change what we actually think would happen. But I really like the moralizing that happened in this book. What we deem as okay was a lot of stuff that was tied back into our evolutionary chain. Things that when we were less intelligent or perhaps even like descended from the apes, the things that we used to survive and that we grew up with before we gained self-awareness and became like fully conscious, those were the things that guide us and how we think about things. Throughout this book, we are seeing a lot of the colonists and people in there, when they start to interact with these spiders, they have a deep-seated revulsion because we have deep-seated fear of spiders back from when spiders used to mess us up. We still have these weird kind of monkey sort of impulses in our brain, and one reoccurring theme throughout this book is actually transcending past nature to become something more. Throughout our history and even now, humanity has constantly been in conflict with each other, and there has been a steady recourse of whenever you see colonists that come from human to human where there's a disparity in technology, it has never gone well in the history of humankind. There may be some one-offs, but generally you just hear about the more advanced people taking advantage of the less advantaged people and how our greed generally wins out. And we like to think we're civilized and everything is better off now, but we're still consistently seeing war break out of resources. We are watching people just descending into oh, I want more of this, I need greed, we need to expand. And rather than actually grow and becoming more human per se, we keep falling back to that conflict and lack of self-awareness or foresight that came with our monkey ancestors. So having a mirror paired to it with the spiders and watching their evolution, and how the whole idea of a matriarchal web society where they have different morals and they came up with different sort of philosophies and things that they deemed okay, and seeing it actually doing well and comparing it against it. I was reading a book about hyper intelligent spiders and they were going up against the humans, and I was rooting for the spiders. It really shows my lack of faith in humanity. It's no, we need the spiders to take off and they're actually going to do way better than us. And watching us grow as we're in relation to this, it was really cool. I haven't seen that concept before. The second theme of the technology and just how our technology would be evolved comparatively just for what our senses are built for. At one point, the rogue AI that's in the satellite going around the planet and thinking that she's talking to monkeys is like just really astounded by like how their technological growth diverged from what she expected. Just as an aside, the whole time when they started communicating back to her and her grand experiment was taken off, she thought that she was talking to monkeys and didn't realize it was spiders until later on in the book. So she's just like, what is happening? They developed a radio, but they don't have a will. And their own sort of ideas and like their different perspective of just evolution are growing up. You're watching these insects use insects and the natural biological things to build new technology. So rather than going into the metal hardware and electronics that we went into, they are programming by using like biological sense to mess with ants. Spiders don't have ears. So how they have to communicate is through vibration, and that influenced all their technology. And it was just a cool thing to think about that, we built our technology around having thumbs, what we can see, what we can hear, just our general way that we were raised and what we experience and the limited bandwidth that we actually experience of reality, that when you give hyperintelligence or intelligence to something that is completely alien to us, like a spider with their 8 legs, their different senses, how they interact with the world, the technology spiraled out very differently. And I thought that was a super cool concept, breaking into like ants and how they're using aphids and just some of the ideas that they were going with, like how they set up their culture. Probably like one of the bigger draws for the book was just seeing how the spiders actually evolved and what they developed in comparison to what the humans developed. Probably one of the best things, and I won't try to spoil that too much because for me that was what you should probably experience the most and what was the constant curious draw to keep me going. And the third theme goes along with that. At one point humanity actually gets to the planet, but like they have to immediately leave, but they leave behind a person, and that person gets captured by the spiders, and they have that human in captivity, and they're trying to communicate with it. The humans trying to talk to them, the spiders are trying to talk back, but the humans speaking through its voice, and the spiders normally like tap or make their little pincers and like kind of a sign language to help emphasize and communicate their points and speak symbolically. They just see this giant that's like, making mouth sounds, but for them, because they experience through like vibration and it's traveling through the air, for them it's like barely a whisper. And at one point they kind of all freak out because the human like learns to associate certain like pincer movements with their fingers with like food and water and learns how to ask for that type of stuff. The spiders are just like, oh look, it's like a dog saying I love you. Like they're just kind of mimicking us, but hey, it's a cool trick and we can train it. And if you expand that idea out further past, it's like because they evolved in a completely divergent way, how they communicate is completely different. So what happens when we actually meet aliens? There's nothing to say that they're going to be a 2-legged hominid that knows how to speak through its mouth and develops like, similar things like we would see in Star Trek. It could be a spider, it could be an octopus. That movie Arrival was a great example of that, where they had to break down the linguistics of how to even know how to talk to it, because the giant squid things communicated and experienced everything completely differently. And so for them to understand it was just a task in itself. So trying to navigate that, how to even communicate with these foreign alien things that we have no kinship and connection to, while also not destroying everything in the conflict, is going to be a tricky bridge to manage. And if we ever do meet aliens, which I think would be, there's a chance that it could go very poorly, just with the history of humankind and then just the actual things that we have to jump through to even get to any kind of like common understanding. And maybe we even have met these things before. We constantly look for frequencies and radios in space, searching for intelligent life. Well, the spiders communicated completely differently. So what we could see is like random like quasars making weird frequencies, or things that we're not even analyzing could already be here. We're just looking in the completely wrong place because we're looking at this through a human perspective. And throughout the book, where we see everything through the spider perspective, it's just constant light bulbs going off like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And just really cool, really well done. I know I keep saying that about this book, but it's one of the more novel things I've read in a while, so I'm super excited about it. Like I mentioned earlier, please check out Hello Future Me's video on this called The Compatibility Problem. Link will be down below. He did such a great job of covering it, and I think he has the rest of the series reviewed, not to mention like interviews with the author himself, where he dives into why spiders and some of the things that themes they explore a lot more, and you can hear directly from the author. Really cool channel, by the way, too. It's always weird on YouTube because you can see people with like 10 million subscribers like one day and realize they've never watched them before. So the fact that 10 million people are watching one person and you've literally never heard of them, you never know. But really cool channel, love the world building stuff he goes into, so it's one of my favorites and one of the things that kind of got me into wanting to do YouTube in general. But all in all, this was a fun read. The audiobook performance was great. I had a lot of fun going through this. There are 2 more books in the series. I have heard mixed things about the next book, but I'm invested enough in what's going to happen with the story that I'll probably get to it at some point. I still have a stack of books I need to get through, and probably am going to change up how I do some of these reviews, not to mention like what I'm going to do with this channel in general. So if you do see more videos about this, it's probably going to be either as a comprehensive overview or like a deep dive. I haven't decided yet. Just the whole having to criticize certain books and stuff, I think I might be going into a little bit of a different direction in the future, but that's for another time. Anyway, thank you guys for your time, and thanks for watching. Peace!